Welcome to new viewers, Adil Nakchod channel. Is a horror story channel. Tonight's story is something that will make you rethink the safety of your own home during the holidays. This terrifying experience was shared with me by a Facebook subscriber named Arthur, all the way from Lille, United Kingdom. When Arthur sent me this email, he told me that he's not been able to celebrate Christmas properly for 3 years. He said he's sharing this story now because he wants to warn people, to let them know that sometimes the festive season brings in visitors you never invited. What happened to him in that isolated cottage was absolutely bone chilling, and honestly, I still get goosebumps just reading his words. So, turn off the light, close your doors, and listen carefully. Here is Arthur's story. My English is weak. I'm sorry if I say something wrong. Okay? The Silent Night, narrated by Arthur. I never believed in ghosts. I certainly did not believe in monsters. I was a practical man, a man of logic. I worked in IT, lived a busy life in the city, and dealt with the fact no fairy tales. But the change 3 years ago. It was December 2022. I was born out. The year had been incredibly rough, a messy breakup, endless overtime at work, and just the general noise of city life. I needed an escape. I did not want the family dinners, the fake smiles, or the commercial juice of Christmas. I wanted silence. So, I booked a small, sheltered cottage in the Peak District. It was miles away from the nearest town, nestled right at the edge of a dense, sprawling forest. The listing online called it cozy winter retreat. Looking back, I should have realized that sheltered is just a nice word for helpless. I remember on December 23, the drive up was tre- the drive was treacherous. A heavy snowstorm had been forecast, and the sky was already a bruising shade of purple and grey by the time I parked my car. The cottage was beautiful in a rustic way, stone walls, a state roof, and the chimney puffing out grey smoke from the automatic heating system. It looked like a Christmas card. I unpacked my bags. I had thought enough food for 3 days, a few bottles of wines, and a stack of books. I remember the silence when I first stepped out of the car. I was not peaceful. It was heavy, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. The snow absorbs sound. You see, it muffles the word, no, the world. The first night was uneventful, mostly. I cooked a steak, drank some wines, and read by the fireplace. But I had this nagging feeling. You know that sensation when you are in a room with someone and even thought you can't see them. You know they are there. You can there feel graze on the back of your neck. I keep tuning around, looking at the dark corner of the living room, expecting to see someone. But there was nothing, just the flickering shadow cast by the fire. I told myself I was just city shocked. I wasn't used to the quiet. I was not used the total darkness outside the windows. Indeed, there are always a street lamp or a car headlight. Here, the window were just black mirror reflecting my own anxious face. Christmas heavy, December 24. The next morning, the snow had fallen hard. My car was buried halfway up the wheels. I was officially snoring. I did not mind, thought. There was the plan, right, isolation. I spent the day trying to relax, but the atmosphere in the house had shifted. The air felt colder, despite the heating being on full blast. Around 4 p.m., the sun began to set. It gets dark early in the UK during winter. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I saw it through the kitchen window, which faced the backyard and the forest line. I saw a figure. I dropped my spoon. I cluttered loudly on the counter. About 50 yards away, standing perfectly still, the edge of the trees, was a person. It was too far to make out a face. They were wearing something dark, maybe a long coat. They were just standing there, facing the cottage, facing me. My heart hummed against my ribs. Who walked out here in this weather? I thought maybe a hiker, a lost local. I watched for a full minute. The figure did not move. They did not wave for help. They did not shift here, wait. They stood like a statue planted in the snow. I grabbed my phone to call the owner of the cottage. Maybe ask if they were neighbor. I did know about no service. Of course, I muted to myself, feeling a spike of panic. Of course, there is no signal. I went back to the window. The figure was gone. I blinked, pressing my face against the cold glass. The snow was pristine. There were no footprints leaving away, but the light was fading fast, so maybe I just could not see them. I tried to rationalize it. It was a tree stump. I told myself, a shadow, a deer. But I know it was not a deer. I went around the entire cottage and locked every door, front door, back door, side windows. I double checked the latches. I pulled all the curtains shut. I did not want to look outside anymore. Night fell completely. The wind picked up, howling down the chimney, making the fire split and crackle. I tried to watch a movie on my laptop, but I could not focus. I kept pausing it, listening. Scratch, scratch. It was faint. It sounded like it was coming from the front porch. I froze. My breath hitched in my throat. Scratch, scratch. It sounded like metal on wood, like a key trying to find a lock or a nail dragging across the door. I stood up, grabbing the heavy iron poker from the fireplace. My hands were sweating. I crept toward the hallway that led to the front door. The floorboard cracking under my feet, sounding like gunshot in the silence. I reached the door and leaned in, pressing my arm against the wood. Silence, just the wind. Is anyone there? I shouted, my voice cracked. I have a weapon. Nonsense. Then a lock. It was soft, moved by the door, but it was distant. I low, dry chuckle. I did not sound happy. It sounded mocking. I backed away, terrified. I did not open the doors. I was not the stupid. I went back to the living room and pushed the heavy sofa in from the hallway's entrance. I would not stop anywhere, but it made me feel slightly better. I sat in the corner of the room, clutching the fire poker, staring at the very side I demurred. Time crawled 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. At midnight, Christmas morning, the power went out. The hum of the refrigerator died. The heating system clicked off. The cottage was plunged into absolutely darkness, save for the dying ember of the fire. And then I heard it thump, thump. It was not coming from outside the time. It was not the front door. The sound was coming from above me. Someone was working in the attic. I started. I stared up the wooden ceiling, tears pricking my eyes. The eating hatch was in the hallway. The hallway I had blocked off. But the footsteps were heavy, deliberate. They were pacing back and forth, directly above the living room. Thump, thump, thump. They stopped it. Dust drifted down from the ceiling planks in the firelight. Then a sound that made my blood turn to ice. From the ceiling above, a voice sang out, clear and raspy, like a smoker with a throat full of gravel. Silent night, holy night. I covered my mouth to stop a scream. The voice was right above my head. All is clean, all is right. Then, a massive crash. The attic hatch in the hallway slammed open. I heard the leather slide down with a metallic scratch. It was dripped. The sofa was blocking my exit. The whole I was dropped. The sofa was blocking my exit to the hallway. But now the thing was in the hallway. I heard heavy boards hit the floorboards. It was inside. I was crouched behind the sofa, pressing my back against the fabric so hard I thought I did break my ribs. The fear was dying. Just a few glowing red ember left in the grate, casting long, twisted shadows across the room. The boards hit the floorboards in the hallway. Thud, thud. I was not a crush. That was the worst part. If it had been a burglar, if it had been a burglar, they would have been quick, frantic, looking for valuables. This was slow, deliberate. Every step was heavy, as if the person wanted me to know they were there. They wanted me to hear them coming. I gripped the iron fire poker with both hands. My knuckles were white, my palms were stiff with sweat, and I was terrified the metal would slip out of my grip if I had to swing it. The footsteps stopped right at the entrance to the living room, just on the other side of the sofa I had pushed it there. I held my breath. I literally pinched my nose and cleaned my mouth shut because my heart was beating I loud, so loud I was sure the cloud heard to thumping against the upholstery. Upholstery. For a long moment, there was nothing, no movement, no sound. Then a smell hit me. It wafted over the top of the sofa. It was wild. It smelled like wet, rotting leaves and old copper, like dried blood. It was the smell of something that had been living in the dirt, something that had not seen soup or water in a very long time. Then this spoke. Then he spoke. Arthur. My blood froze. He did not shout. He whispered. It was a wet, gurgling whisper, like his throat was full of flour. I know you are behind the sofa. Arthur, you made it very cozy. He know my name? How did he know my name? I had not spoken to anyone. My wallet was in my back pocket. Suddenly, a hand grabbed the top of the sofa right above my head. The finger was very long. The finger were long, pale, and filthy, with nails that were black and cracked. I watched in horror as he pulled himself up, reading over the briefcase, painting over the bracelet I had pulled. I did not wait to see his face. Survival instinct just snapped into place. I screamed a primal, terrified sound and swung the fire poker blindly over my head. Crack, crack, the iron connecting with something hard. I heard a grunt of pain, and the hand slipped off the sofa. Get back, I yelled, scrambling to my feet. I did not look at him. I turned and ran toward the kitchen. The cottage had an open floor plan, but the kitchen was around the corner. I needed to get to the back door. The front door was blocked by my own stupid bracelet, and the intruder was standing right there. I slipped on the rug in my socks, crashing shoulder first in the doorframe of the kitchen. The pain shut down my arm, but adrenaline named it instantly. I scrambled into the kitchen, grabbing the handle of the back door. It would budge. I took it at it frantically. That would have swollen from the humidity. Or maybe the ice outside had sealed it shut. It was jammed tight. Come on, come on, I sobbed, kicking the door from the living room. I heard a sound that made me stop. He was lugging again. And then the sound of heavy boots dragging across the floor, coming toward the kitchen. I looking around for a weapon, a knife, anything. I grabbed the biggest chef knife from the wooden block on the counter. The blade glinted in the moonlight coming through the window, the same window where I had seen him standing hour ago. I backed up against the sink, pointing the knife at the doorway. A shadow fell across the door. A shadow fell across the floor. He stepped into the kitchen. The moonlight hit him, and finally saw him clearly. He was tall, maybe 6'4", lumbering over me. He was wearing his tattered old military coat that looked like it was from another decade. But it was his face. God, his face. He was wearing a mask, but it was not a Alvin mask. It looked like it was made of burlap. Rough sketch, rough sketch cloth stitched together with thick black twine. They were all cut out for the eyes and the mouth underneath the eyes hole. The skin was raw and red, and the mouth of the mask was stitched shut, but the threads had been ripped open, revealing yellow, jagged teeth. He was not rushing. He just stood there in the doorway, blocking my only exit back to the rest of the house. He tilted his head to the side like a dog confusing its prey. That's a big knife, Arthur. He whispered. Do you know how to use it? Sorry. Do you know how to use it? It was shaking so bad the knife was vibrating in my hand. Who are you? What do you want? He took a step forward. I want to celebrate, he said. It's Christmas. He lingered. He moved faster than a man this size should be able to move. I swung the knife. slashing the air. But the catch my wrist might swing. His grip was like a vase. His hand was freezing cold, like holding a block of ice. He squeezed. I felt the bone in my wrist grind together. I cried out the drop at the knife. I clattered to the tiled floor. He shoved me backward. I hit the counter hard, knocking over the coffee maker. Glass shattered everywhere. I did not try to fight him hand to hand. He was too strong. I did the only thing I could. I grabbed the plate of hot coffee that had been sitting on the warmer plate. It was lukewarm now, but still liquid, and splashed it right into the eyes hole of this mask. He robbed it. It was not a scream of pain, but of anger. He let go me to claw at his face. I did not hesitate. I ducked under the flailing arm and sprinting back into the living room. My mind was racing. Front door, no blockade upstairs, no traffic car, no keys. The basement. The cottage had an old cellar. The door was under the staircase in the hallway. It was a sturdy. It was a sturdy oak door with a heavy bolt on the inside. If I could get there, if I could get in there and bolt it, I could buy time. Maybe wait until morning. Maybe there was a tool down there, an axe, something better than a poker. I slid across the hallway floor, threw open the cellar door, and practically threw myself down the wooden stair into the pitch black. I slammed the door shut above me and slid the heavy iron bolt into place. Clang! I collapsed on the stair, gasping for air, my chest heaving. I listened. Above me, I heard him stomp out to the door. He tried the handle. It rattled violently. Then he started pounding on the boom, boom, boom. Open it, Arthur, he screamed. The voice was different now. It was not calm. It was demonic. Open it! I screamed further, down the stair, away from the door, into the darkness of the cellar. I found it in my pocket for my lighter. I am a smoker. Then God for that bad habit. Bad habit. I flickered the lighter. A small dancing flame illuminated the space. It was standing root cellar, stone walls, dirt floors, shelves lined with old jars of preserves. It was freezing cold. I sat on the old wooden crate, watching the door at the top of the stairs shaking under his blows. I knew the world would not hold forever. I looked around for a weapon. My eyes adjusted to the dim light of the flame. That is when I saw it. In the far corner of the cellar, hidden behind a stack of old firewood, was a sleeping bag. I found it. I walked over to it, holding the lighter out. It was a dirty, old sleeping bag. Beside it were empty cans of beans, wrappers, and bottles of water. My heart sank. This was not just a random break-in. I saw a notebook lying on the sleeping bag. It was a small, black pocket diary. I picked it up, my hands trembling. I opened it. The page was filled. The page were filled with frantic, scribbled handwriting, dates, times. December 23. He arrived alone. Looks weak. December 23. He likes steak. He drinks red wines. December 24th. He saw me in the trees. He is scared now. Good. I felt sick. I felt like was going to vomit. He had not just broken into night. He had been living down there. He had been in the house the entire time. Before I even arrived, I flipped to the last page. The ink was fresh. December 25. Tonight is the feast. The pounding on the door upstairs stopped suddenly. The silence returned. It was worse than the noise. Then I heard a sound that made me realize I had made a fatal mistake. A sound was not coming from the door at the top of the stairs. It was coming from the corner of the cellar, behind the shelves. Today, a hidden hatch, a cool chute. The cold air hit me first, then the snow falling in through the small opening he had just kicked open from the outside. I was not alone this cellar. He knew another way in. I turned it around, raising the lighter. From the shadow of the cool chute, the mask emerged. He was already down here with me. Merry Christmas, Arthur. He whispered. The lighter flickered and went out. The lighter flickered and died. The darkness that followed was not just an absence of light. It was a physical weight. It crushed me. It was trapped in a 10 by 10 stone box with the monster and the roost part. I could hear him breathing. It was a wet, grating sound coming from the corner by the cool chute, less than 5 feet away from me. I did not think, I did not plan. Panic is a funny thing. Sometimes it freezes you, but sometimes it stuns you into an animal. I became an animal. I knew he was blocking the cool chute. My only exit beside the locked door at the top of the stairs. I had to move him. I reached out blindly into the darkness to my right, where the shelves were. My hand closed around the cold glass jar, pickled onions, maybe beetroot. I don't care. I hurled it with my strength toward the opposite corner of the room, away from the cool tube. Smash! The sound was deafening in the small space. The glass shattered against the stone wall. Evidently, I heard the heavy stomp of birds longing toward the noise. He took the bait. He grunted a low guttural sound. Thinking I had tried to run that way, that was my chance. I dropped to my hand and knees and scrambled towards where I remembered the cold tube was. The floor was freezing dirt. I scraped my knees. I tore my fingernails. But I crawled like my life depends on it, because it did. I felt the cold draft before I saw the opening. The cold tube was small, square tunnel leading upward to the outside garden. It was narrow, tight. I shoved my head and shoulder into the tunnel. It was suffocating. The rough stones scraped my back. I kicked my legs, trying to propel myself up. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my ankle. I screamed. It was a raw, broken sound. His grip was iron. He was pulling me back down into the dark. I could hear him snarling behind me. Don't go! Arthur, party is not over. I kicked. I thrashed. I slammed my other foot back into the darkness, aiming for this face. He just anything. My heel connected with something hard. Maybe his shoulder, maybe his mask. He roared in frustration, but did not let go. He dragged me down a few inches. My fingernails clawed at the snow and dirt at the lip of the chute. I remember the lighter in my hand. I still had it clenched in my fist. I didn't have time to think it would work. I twisted my body, reaching back with the lighter toward his hand on my ankle. I flicked the flame. Click, wash, click, whoosh. The flame cut the frayed fabric of this dirty military coat sleeves. It was not big fire, but it was sudden. The heat must have startled him. He shrieked and released my ankle to swat at the flame. I scrambled up the tube, clung at the frozen ground, and burst out into the night air. I rolled on the snow, gasping, couching up dust. The storm was at its peak. The wind was howling, and the snow was coming down in thick, blending sheets. I did not stop. I did not look back. I stood up, shivering violently in just my sweater and jeans, and I ran. My car was buried. I did not have the key anyway. The only way out was the forest road. I ran toward the tree line. Their snow was knee deep. It felt like running in a nightmare where your legs are heavy and you can't move fast enough. Behind me, from the side of the house, I heard a crash. He was out. Arthur, Arthur, his voice cried over the vine. It sounded inhuman. He plunged into the forest. The trees offered some cover from the vine, but it was pitch black. Back, sorry, but it was pitch black. I kept tripping over roots, slamming into trunks. Branches wrapped my face, cutting my cheeks. It was crying, freezing, and terrified. I ran until my lungs burned. I ran until I could feel my feet anymore. I thought I was going to die out there. I thought the cold would take me before he did. After what felt like an hour, I saw a light. Not the moon, a yellow electric light. I pushed through a thicket of holly bushes and stumbled onto the paved road. It was the main road leading through the pass. It was mostly deserted. Yes, deserted. It was mostly deserted, covered in snow. But the distance, I saw the flashing orange light of the grating truck, a snow plow. I ran into the middle of the road, waving my arm frantically. I ran into the middle of the road, waving my arm frantically. Help! Stop! Help me! The truck lashed its burn. The driver slammed on the brakes. The massive vehicle slid on the ice, fishtailing before coming to a stop just a few feet from me. The door opened, and a burly man in a high vis jacket jumped out. Matt, are you mad? You nearly got killed. I collapsed into his arm. I could not speak. I just pointed back toward the woods, toward the cottage. There's a man, I stammered. He has in the walls. The driver looked at me, bloody, covered his suit, shivering uncontrollably, and he did not ask questions. He bundled me into the warm cab of the truck and radioed the police. The aftermath. The police arrived at the cottage 2 hours later. They went in with dogs and tactical gear. It was at the hospital. It was at the hospital by then, being treated for hypothermia and shock. When the detective came to see me the next morning, he looked pale. He sat by my bed and took off his hat. We did not find him, Arthur, he said quickly. My heart stopped. What? He was gone, but we found where the was living. He told me everything. He found the nest in the cellar, but they also find a crawl space beyond the master bedroom wardrobe. He had drilled a hole in the wall. He had been watching me sleep, but there was not the roast part. The detective told me they found a stash of items in the attic. Driver license, watches, wedding ring. There were six of them. This man had not just targeted me. He had been using the cottage for years. He had been using the cottage for years, so waiting there during the winter, waiting for solo traveler, hikers, people looking for an escape. I was just the first one who got away. They never caught him. The snow had covered his tracks. He vanished into the Peak District like a ghost.